Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Deanna Swope, and I am thrilled that you all are here and part of our show today, Sign Your Truth. So before I start, I want to go ahead and give you all a visual description of me. I'm a Black woman. I have locks that are wrapped into a bun on my head and then long locks going down my right shoulder. I'm also wearing a tannish earring set. I'm also wearing a kind of white blouse with lace sleeves. And then behind me is a white background. And I also have a white and black patterned lamp shelf next to me. And there are two shelves with a plant on it. I'm also wearing a watch with a pinkish white band. And I'm excited that you all are here to have this panel discussion on us with us. And this subject is surviving the pandemic. And I will explain exactly what the Kendemic is as we start. But first, without further delay, I'd like to call our panelists to the screen and give a visual description of themselves, and then we'll get this show started. So first, TJ, do you mind coming on screen?
Hello, hey everyone. My name is TJ. I'm a black man. I'm not as fancy as Deanna wearing her little nice outfit. I just got a black background and a black t-shirt, and it's nice to see everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you, TJ. So next, I'd like to invite Trisha to come on screen. Hello, everyone. My name is Trisha, and I am wearing a mint t-shirt. I have on two silver necklaces. I have on black rim glasses, and I also have micro locks that are pulled up in a ponytail and some hanging down my back. I also have on an Apple Watch with a pink band. I also have on a silver bracelet on my right arm, and my background has a wall with a painting in the center of it with some flowers and a vase and some plants. Hi, nice to see everyone. I'm so glad you're here. This is Deanna. Okay, great. And last but not least, we have Terica. Please come on screen.
Hey everyone, my name is Terica. My background is a white wall with a light shining down. Currently wearing a lavender purple tank top, no hoops, no earrings. And it's nice to see y'all. I'm excited to be here, part of the show again. Thank you so much.
Okay, great, beautiful. Now, please, all panelists come on screen. Okay, so audience members, for those of you who have signed in to watch our show, we do have closed captions. They're on a different link. It's called Stream Text. So for those of you who are not signing fluent, please feel free to pull up another screen. It has Stream Text link, and you're welcome to go ahead and put your chat messages in there as well as look at our captions. And when the show is over, we will reply to your comments. So thank you all so much for taking time. Just thank you in advance for taking time to look at the captions as well as include your comments. So with that being said, we'll dive right into our questions. All right. So first things first, as I mentioned earlier, the topic is surviving pandemic. And you may be wondering, what is pandemic? And what is the root cause of a pandemic? And how did it start? Well, I can start with that. I created the term pandemic. Okay, so we all know about Karen, the Karen-demic, right? We know about Karen, but what about Ken? We never talk about Ken, okay? Because Ken has been causing problems too, okay? So when we talk about the Kendemic, not Canademic, Kendemic, again, we got to think about that. So we've had Karen to come out of the box so we can discuss those issues. And now let's talk about Ken. So when you first saw the term Kendemic, what came to mind for you all? I love to hear panelists.
I got this one. This is TJ. First of all, I've honestly had to ask my teenager who's 13 or 12. I had to look. I'm like, have you heard of this pandemic? And I had to look it up in the dictionary. I'm like, what is that? But once my teen explained, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. I got it. But honestly, you're right. It's just as we pivot, always look at Karen so much about talking about Karen, we rarely overlook Ken. So I think this is a good point, the Kendemic. But this is my first time hearing this or learning about it. So I'd ask my kids, I'm like, what are the kids talking about today? And what is the topic on point? And thank you. Yeah, that's just my viewpoint.
Okay, this is Trisha. When I saw the word pandemic, I was like, "Damn, I must be so old. I'm an old woman now. I gotta school myself because I don't know what the pandemic is." So I had to catch up, learn what that was. And so I'm like, "Oh, that's what you meant." Once I looked it up, I'm like, "Duh. Karen is a woman. Ken is a man. Kendemic. Okay." I was like, "Okay, I got it now." I was a little bit behind, a little embarrassed because I was a little behind, but I'm caught up now.
This is Terica. So first of all, when I saw that word, the moment I had to go ahead and look at the Webster's dictionary, to be honest, I had a moment. I'm like, okay, so I must be tripping. And okay, the word's there. And then I had to go on the internet. I'm like, I cannot believe this. Maybe I am tripping. But that word, I'm like, I had to look everywhere. And finally, I had to look at it again. Ken, oh, wait a minute. Oh, a white, ugly, cis man, white, cis Barbie. Okay, so equivalent to Barbie, but a Ken. Anyways, so I swear I had to double check it. Sorry so much in advance. A Ken is an ugly ass name. It is. Let's just be honest. First of all, when I had to research, looking at Twitter, I'm like, okay, there's nothing here on X or Twitter. So then, okay, when you type in Karen, there's so a slew of okay, white women. Okay. So I just had to do my research on social media. So that's where I was able to find out what it is.
This is Deanna. That's funny. So ironically, I was hoping that everyone would understand as soon as they saw the word, but funny enough, a few days later, I had someone be like, "What is a pandemic? Did you misspell that? Did you were you trying to spell pandemic?" And I knew immediately. I was like, "I know what the corona pandemic it was, okay, but I spelled what I spelled, okay, pandemic." They're like, "Okay." Just like Barbie, the movie Barbie, Ken, and then I had to explain and the person understood. But again, it just perfectly leads us into this next or segue into our next topic about the pandemic. A perfect example is something that recently happened. There was a white man who arrogantly went up and moved a black man and kind of proceeded in front of him. And so when we're thinking about this term of a white man and how it applies to society and thinking about this teenage girl, what comes to mind for you all? And this is Trisha. That's right. It's embarrassed the daughter. They embarrassed the daughter at their graduation. That was an embarrassing moment. The daughter was graduating for they will only graduate for the first time in her life. She will only graduate one time, have this one graduation moment, and she's going to remember that forever. I mean, it was embarrassing for her and embarrassing because the whole audience, the whole auditorium was looking. I mean, woo. And the superintendent of the school, too. I mean, just for a moment, I had to stop and think, like, wait a minute. If, the father didn't like him, why did you allow your daughter to go to that school anyway? And then why not take her out and put her into another school if you didn't like that? Why would you do that on the special day, her special day, your daughter's graduation day? I mean, duh, that is awful. I mean, she's marked forever and scarred in that way and probably will remember that forever and probably not even invite him to her college graduation or to celebrate or anything. So yes, that definitely applies to this topic of the pandemic. Absolutely, definitely applies to men as well.
This is TJ. Oh, Terica? No, go ahead. So this is TJ. I like how you framed it. So again, this is her only one time that she's going to graduate from high school. And that very often, a white male, so often that we see, this is not the first time, but this is going specifically viral because it's his daughter, it's her moment, and the spotlight was taken away from her moment to look at her dad's atrocity of the behavior. You know, for example, when I go out to a grocery store, I'm minding my own business, and someone had the audacity to come behind me and walk so close behind me. I'm just here to get my things. But if you want to follow me, you can go ahead and hold my things. I'm going to go ahead and put my stuff as if you're a shopping cart. So that really just pisses me off. Please don't not follow me. Are you trying to help me? In what way? So I think I just trying to think about of the need, those white men, they have a need to stand up, but no one calls them out in history. And it just becomes so viral. And it just happened to be in that moment and realizing what his own behavior has come out to and the consequences of it. This
Okay,
is,
Terica.
oh yeah. So two things that come to mind. This is Terica. To be honest, you would think this would happen in the South, right? But this is actually happening in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, in the Midwest, TJ said, like, horse is so normal. Honestly, I thought this was happening in the South. No, I doubted it happened in Wisconsin. So for me, I was just like, really, in the cheese state? Wow. So, okay, got to keep it cool. Important. I need to keep my cool because this is just wild. Like, I was just mind blown. I was just mind blown. Second of all, so in Kendemic, oh, when the Capitol's insurgents tapping on the white Capitol, with all these white men going, and yet there was no discussion after that. There, of course, there was a huge event, yet people flooded the Capitol. Yet where's the accountability? 2 or 3 years later, we don't see anything. I know these men have been charged, but yet it's just still these types of things are still happening. I know Karens are involved with the insurgents of the Capitol, but this is just amazing that this is still continuing. And that is a prime example of what a pandemic can look like in a big moment or in a big event. And TJ is saying with various protests.
A lot of times with via Black Lives Matter protests and things like this, people are peacefully protesting, and a lot of times you'll see white men constantly making it unpeaceful, causing violence and disrupting the peaceful protest. You'll see that happen, and it happens mostly when during this organizing, even happened during times where Trump was president. So again, it's shocking, but then you have to kind of take several looks back and just kind of look and just see that this happens all the time, you know? And it just continues to happen and nobody's calling it out, so yeah.
This is Terica. Another example that came to mind. The irony of Karen and Ken relates to the KKK, all with K's, right? A clear example.
This is Trisha, bingo. Mm.
It's but I've been hearing something over and over again. Behind a great man is a great woman, something like that. Is that the line? Behind every great man is a great woman. So the point is that the men tend to do things. White men keep going because they have the white woman behind them to influence them, to gas them up. I'm not blaming these white women, but I'm just saying the concept of blowing these white men up, gassing them up, and telling them that they can do these things. And we kind of think back to those who have been enslaved, right? A lot of those things have continuously happened because of these enslaved individuals being used as cattle or rebirthing more children. So of course, the white woman is behind the white man, gassing them up to everything the actions have been doing. So we got to look back in history and think about colonization and the colonized time of what those behaviors and how they're ingrained to today and men's.
Deanna, you all of your comments are on point. I agree with everything that you all said, and it breaks my heart to see, um, to have seen that girl and, knowing that the father did that to Black individuals on her special day, and she's gonna look back and remember that. That should have been a celebratory day. Instead, there's dread and shame, and other children were there watching too. It's just like, it's your dad, you know? Everybody's wondering what things will look like, what graduation day will be like, and then that happens. What a contradiction. And how do you explain that to the other children too, seeing that kind of thing happen, seeing that kind of racism take place? So again, what about vicarious trauma because of what the father did? You know, just think about that mindset. So again, that even reminds me of something I watched not too long ago. It was an article a friend sent me just recently about a young white boy who was like, Dad, please don't do this. Please don't do this. And basically the white guy called the police because of some kind of trespasser who they thought it was. And the young boy was saying, Don't do it, Dad. And he called, and the white dad called a popo on this individual. And this little white boy already knew the difference between right and wrong and that what his dad was doing was wrong. And he knew that. And he tried to teach and tell his father, don't call the police on this individual. It broke my heart to see that, him pleading with his father like that. He had to be 4, Trisha. I know you asked about the age 4 or 5. And this is
TJ
TJ. That
said,
was embarrassing.
that's embarrassing.
Okay, so this is Trisha. Thinking about what you just described makes me think back about how things happen in how white women have and white men have predominantly been in charge of decision making in this country over the years. And so, in thinking about also the recent story about the graduation day too, and what we just shared about, and how the guy pushed everyone, and just thinking about what were the underlying issues that caused the dad to push that
Hmm.
individual during that graduation day. It makes us have to question what is the underlying reason he felt so angry? Was it because his wife, a white woman, told him to do that? Because that is something that has been historical over time as well. Yes, Terica?
This is Tarek saying. Yeah, I've read that article and just reading in depth, the dad has some issues with the school itself relating to his daughter or something behind it. Because the issue, really, when we get down to the nitty-gritty, we don't really know. We just know that the something was going on with the dad inside. He was internally not okay with his daughter's graduating that moment and then pushing down the superintendent to before he shook his daughter's hand. So it's just it's like, okay, so if we go back, what are the previous issues? What's coming up for this dad to be do this? Say it again. What'd you say, TJ?
Yeah, he should just took his kid out of school instead of leaving him there at the school if he didn't want him to be under that superintendent.
I
And this
mean,
is
exactly. So, but what are the exact details? Like, what is the problem? What, okay, we saw what the dad did, but there is no details as to, okay, what are the reason behind this action? It's very late, it's very superficial. Let's say if the black man did something, we by much any accusation towards this black man, right? But if it's a white man, where is the evidence? Where is the accountability for this equality for what we do to black men and try to villainize them and demonize them? So again, we go back to the white man. We just barely scratch the surface of what their actions are, the accountability towards their actions. So that is a huge impact on media, and I'm just thinking about that.
And this is TJ. Yes, I do have to make a point too. So I like what you mentioned about the media and how they reflect this community. And so I think about during COVID, everything that happened with a lot of the nail shop owners and how people started targeting nail shop Asian owners of nail shops because of the coronavirus. And and then remember that one shooting that happened, and then the police and media put out, sorry, the shooter was just having a bad day.
That's
This
so
is
fucked
Trisha.
up.
Yes, that is so fucked up. And this is TJ. It's just like if I have a bad day, I don't go shooting up places and killing people. So again, just seeing that in the media, or another example, if a black man, well, okay. So I love my black people. I really do love my black community, but sometimes people do stupid stuff. Okay, where I'm just looking at the news and I'm like, oh my goodness, for real. Remember, like going into the mall, there was someone that went into the mall and then the boy fell and instantly after that, they were kind of trying to seek justice because the boy fell, but the black man had just got in jail. Like they arrested him already, but people were still targeting him and looking for more justice. But he can't just say he had a bad day after that mall incident happened. He doesn't get away with anything just by saying he had a bad day. And this is Trisha. That makes me think about, okay, well, like, oh, I just had a bad day, or let me see. I remember, oh, there's one memory I remember. There's a story, something on the news that went out, and there was a guy who there was a shooting that took place. I think it was at a church or a religious institution. I can't remember why, but it was like over, like they offered him a hamburger after the shooting. The police took him to get a hamburger after the shooting. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like that is WTF. Like, what the fuck? Why would you take him to get a hamburger after he just killed people in a church? You would treat him like a king, take him to go get a burger. But if it was a black man that had happened already, they would have threw him in the car and arrested him immediately and took him, um, put him behind bars because it's a white man who did that behavior. He's treated differently. It's unacceptable. This is unacceptable. It should be equitable response to anyone committing any kind of crime. But instead, after the shooting, they gave him a hamburger. A hamburger. They fed him. Law enforcement fed him, and it's just like even after he said all those things. But again, I guess just white people think that way, so it's just ridiculous. Get out of here.
This is TJ. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious. When you heard about that girl, well, that boy who went into the church and shot up all those people, did you read? It was his sister who did the same thing, who went to the same church. They go to the same church. I was just kind of stunned. I'm like, why wasn't this on the news? That his sister literally showed up to the same church with a gun herself, yet it wasn't mentioned in the news. I read it myself. Saw it on Instagram. I'm like, wow. But I just felt like, okay, so where's the story? Where's the cover on that? It was just completely thrown out the window, which is, of course, going back to normalcy and what we see in the media.
This is Deanna. So, yes. And so that's why we have the term of pandemic once again, because again, people are so focused on the white women when there's also white men who are also causing harm. It's not only white women in silo. And like TJ just mentioned, they didn't even call out the other individual in the media, the sister. And also thinking about the story of the dad pushing the superintendent and then later apologizing. When people apologizing, it's just like, okay, well, if it was a black individual, nobody would accept the apology if that happened. You would still be charged
Exactly.
and arrested. Okay. So again, because by saying I'm sorry, does that resolve everything? The harm that was caused? Absolutely not. People have to learn how to deal with the consequences as well and not just say, I'm sorry. I was just angry. I'm sorry for what I did. It's like, no, you need to take accountability, you know? And like he embarrassed everyone in front of, and it was in front of an audience. You
Physically
caused
touched
bodily
him.
harm. You touched him. You shouldn't have touched him. So I'm kind of curious, panelists, how do you all address the pandemic? What are your thoughts about that? Have you had experiences with the pandemic?
I don't know where to
This is
start.
Trisha, many times. You know, maybe you met a white man who treated you like that. And this is Trisha. They're gonna bring the island out of me if they try me like that, okay? Seriously, seriously, I'm tired. Every time I go to the store, every time I go to the store, every time I'm going grocery shopping or just shopping for whatever it is, what going to Target, and I'm minding my own business, just doing my shopping, doing what I need to do, walking, and I see somebody like a white guy coming around looking at me, and I'm like, are you following me? Okay, bet. So I'm looking around, putting things in my cart, and you're still following me around and trying to disguise it by not looking directly at me, but coming on different parts of the aisles to make sure I'm not doing anything. So I pull my cart around and say, yeah, what's your problem? And then they back up. And it's like, oh, what's your problem? You're in my face. I'm shopping and everything. Is something going on? You know? I have to like put on a good face. I don't do this, I give me good faith. I'm here. You think I'm dumb? Like I know what I'm doing. I have 2 degrees. I'm not stealing your stuff. I'm a deaf black woman. I have a family. I'm a grandmother. I'm a mom. So again, I am not going to ruin my life by stealing in your store. Come on, people, stop following me around. But it always happens where I'm always being surveyed. And I look around and it's a white person trying to look innocent. And you see other white people shopping in the store and they're not being surveyed, but I'm doing the same thing. Maybe they went to college, maybe they have degrees, maybe they have similar life experiences like me, but I have children, they have children, but yeah, I'm being treated differently and they're treated differently because they're white. They're not being surveilled in the store, but I am. And like I said, they're going to bring the island girl out of me, okay? And I don't want to go toe to toe, but I can if I need to, okay?
This is TJ. So most shoplifters, you know who tends to shoplift the most? Middle-aged white women. Majority that we
Yeah.
see are middle-aged white women who shoplift. I'm looking into my research and looking at data, and I'm noticing middle-aged white women like to shoplift. It's sad to see the issues, right? They don't look at themselves. They love to point the finger at these black men or black folks. And again, if something were to happen to me, I'm like, you know what? You're gonna help me shop then. If you're gonna look at me, be over my shoulder, here's my shopping list. Let's go shopping. You
Right.
know, and then they can do their thing. Like, oh, actually, I'm busy at work. I'm like, okay, then bye.
Right. And try, and I hope they try it again. Go ahead and try it again
Exactly.
next time.
Do it again. I no, I Tara goes like, no, I'm just over here. I'm just minding my own business.
Okay, so now I had to do a time check. We have about 20 minutes left, so yes, let's use that efficiently. So now I'm thinking about the pandemic and some of the stereotypes and how they can reflect broader societal issues like entitlement, privilege, and consumer behavior. Okay. So, what do you think about this white patriarchal society where a lot of white men think that they are the prime decision makers over our bodies, our bodily autonomy, birth control, abortion rights, and the like? And I remember I was recently reading an article, yeah, it was definitely an article, and it was about a senator. I don't remember which legislature position, but anyway, the person said that they supported abortion rights. They didn't support abortion rights, but they allowed their partner to get an abortion. But yet the rest of us are not allowed to get abortions, but yet their partner was able to get an abortion, or their lover or something of the sort. And it's just like, wait, so why is it okay for your girlfriend, your partner, to have an abortion, but you're voting against abortion rights for everyone across the country? And when the anchor tried to ask that, the person diverted the conversation. And it's like, oh, okay, so abortion rights only apply to white men with privilege, when it comes to other people being able to have abortions. Okay, got it. Because people are like, I'm pro life. And it's like, are you really? So, again, just keeping that in mind, thinking about how the pandemic has impacted our broader society. And this is Trisha.
This is the gateway.
This is the gateway. Quite point blank period. This is how the behaviors start. So, even with adults are still doing it anyway. You're not kids, but yeah, you're acting like it. With kids, we can
Mhm.
use behaviors and help modify their behaviors. But people, these men are grown men, and they're still getting away with it without even guilt. How do they sleep with all this guilt at night with what they're still doing? How can you sleep well with all the guilt from all the denial and everything? Like, I mean, I'm just over it, period. Point blank, period.
That's where it's at. This is Terica. So if you notice, a white male goes into a building who shoots all these people. They make so many excuses for him. Oh, he has ADHD, he has autism, he has behavioral issues. Oh, they just try to blame it on mental health, you know? But that's what I've noticed, the pattern. People, well, I hope my people, well, I hope people don't do this, but there are some people who will just pacify them. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Like they try to just appease this man, like, it's all right. It's okay. Like, come on. You know you did wrong. You know you did this. We know the behavior is wrong. Yet there is nothing. Even little white boys who are appeased, who are not taking accountability for their actions. They always start them young. Okay, so I see my dad do this behavior. Oh, he can punch someone? All right, then, well, I guess I could punch someone. There's so many line of excuses, and it starts with children. And the same, we have excuses for the white adult male. They're adults, right? Yet still, they have so many excuses for their actions and behavior. We're so busy trying to appease the white men, trying to excuse their behavior. Oh, we always have an excuse to excuse their behavior, yet that's the issue. Yet there is no accountability for the behavior. So I think that's just a perfect example. Trump, that's just a prime example, right? Yet he is still trying to run for president. He is still trying to
Mhm.
be out here. He is still trying to run for president. And there's a list of excuses that he comes up with day to day, you know, and people still accept this white man. This white man right here is the caucasity of every behavior, and I just don't understand it.
Okay, this is TJ. Have two thoughts. So when it comes to the pandemic, one of the reasons is our society, the inherent beliefs that are ingrained in our society. The standards, the way the world works, policies, everything is already made for white men to benefit them. Okay? So think about that. What was his name? That crazy guy. Think about what happened, like, with him and other people just supporting all of these beliefs. and they have no problem with it. So when it comes to um the individual something Green, this is the interpreter missing the first name, but Marjorie Green in the legislature, think about what's happening with her, behaviors being excused. And secondly, you know, there are different issues that come up that people have noticed over time because of the Me Too movement. So different things have come up over time, and people are starting to call out more and more white men and acknowledge what they're doing. And some of the white women have younger white sons too, and they're like, oh, they have a hard life, because of Me Too movement, and they're white. People are constantly calling out white men, so I have to look out for my white son. But it's like instead of they're thinking their son will have a hard life as they grow up because people are now noticing and acknowledging the behaviors of white men, but instead of just coddling them, they should be helping them modify their behavior and teaching them to learn from the mistakes of what they're seeing in the media. And instead of white women being like, hey, they're being called out, I have to protect my white son and things like that, by helping him. I just don't understand why they wanted to do that. Why they just started coddling instead of basically showing them, like, hey, this is what's happening. This is the reason why. This is why you should not use those behaviors or do these things. Learn from those mistakes of those older white men who are now being called out, to reconcile with what they've done. Explain to your younger white sons what's happening instead of thinking about their future and just feeling worried and worrisome and coddling them and hiding the truth from them. It doesn't make any sense. And this is Trisha. Oof. Okay. So parents have that type of, what we call it, like basically perpetuating the behaviors of their children. Parents may discipline them, but then when it comes to black parents, we don't play. It's different. Okay, I'll whoop your ass. You need to get these behaviors straight. Don't do this anymore. So it's like there's a strictness between showing families what's right and wrong as compared to a lot of white families. And so those in the white families, the children tend to get away with more things. And plus society is set up to benefit the white families anyway. And so, they're just thinking, oh, I can say and do these things. I will be saved. My parents will save me and take care of me. All these things won't happen to me. It's a learned behavior, and it's perpetuated because parents are perpetuating those behaviors. And so when the Me Too movement started, we started seeing a lot of these behaviors spotlit because the parents have perpetuated those behaviors, and then their kids were getting away with so many things over the years, and now it's being spotlit. And so it is very powerful when you look at it in that way. Yes,
This,
Terica.
so this is related to the Me Too movement. There are a lot of rapists who are white men, right? What a fact.
I mean, yeah, but it's based
It's
on past behaviors. You know that.
exactly. So all these white men who are racist are rapists. They're rich and white. And we think about the poor white man, but we're gonna hold on about that. But the pattern is it's white, rich white men who typically tends to stroll on up, be able to go ahead and take advantage. Those who look terrible, and yet, for example, Harvey Weinstein. Oh my God, he got away with it. He has harmed so many thousands of
Yeah,
women.
over 200 women, over
Oh,
200
over
women.
200 women over a period of time. And yet he's never been busted.
Yeah, and people have just been noticing what happens, but not speaking up. People are not standing up to fight and expose what's happening. No one was doing that for years. Like, what the fuck? How did he
It's
get away with
crazy.
that behavior? Like, what is going on?
So we got Harvey Weinstein. Oh, we got what's his name? What's his name? The Joe Epstein. Joe Epstein. Oh, Joe
Didn't he
Epstein.
hang himself?
Mm-hmm. Other was like, oh no. It's like, okay, well, he hung himself. He got away with it. He got away from his punishment. Therefore, he still got away with it. He still took the matter in his hands. Like, you know what? If I'm gonna get caught, I'm gonna go ahead and take it myself. Another man, another rich white man. What's his name? What's his name? Got Harvey. We got Joe. There's just a lot more of white rich men taking advantage and just getting away with it. They just run with it, right? And that's like, what is happening? And the media? Oh, let's just not talk about the media because I'm just upset right now. Go ahead, TJ. I'm just upset.
Okay, well, I think the reason why those rich white men get away with it, it happens until they get caught. Okay. So we really have to take some steps back and think about why they get away with it. It's because of the money that's coming in. And then until it gets to a point where their behaviors are too much or too bad, and then they start losing money, their money wages plummet, and then more people start basically cancel culture starts, and the Backstreet Boys, right? You all are familiar with the Backstreet Boys. You remember Nick? Okay, so I am not going to say I believe everything that happened, but the thing is, there was a pattern of behavior of raping women and younger women as well. This pattern of behavior, and that happened. But also keep in mind that he was making a lot of money. Okay, he was going on tours. He was very popular. He had a large reach at the time, and he was making a lot of money because of his work. And so, as long as he was making money, everyone disregarded his behaviors and didn't even say anything about it. And then what ended up
P.
happening
Diddy.
is
P.
think
Diddy.
about P. Diddy, everything that happened with him. He makes so much money, but now that certain things are starting to happen and come out into the light, he's losing deals, sponsorships, and everything because of what he's done in the past, even though people turned an eye to it in the past. So again, until until people start losing money or different things happen, then people start paying attention. So unfortunately, it's the system and how it's already set up to benefit men in general. So we have to change the system. And this is Deanna. I want to give our audience an opportunity to comment. Is there any comments from my mom or anyone else in the audience, maybe my sister or other audience members? We have about 7 minutes left. If you'd like to comment anything, we would love to hear your comments, if so.
Oh, what we need is 2 hours. This is a 2 hour conversation, TJ is stating.
This is Trisha for sure. No question about it. We could go on with this conversation. Okay, if you want to comment, you can go ahead and speak, and the interpreter will come on screen and sign your question. We'll pause for a moment to see if anyone wants to speak.
Okay, good evening. Again, this is Jackie, Deanna's sister. And I totally agree with, I think TJ said that it's brought to the forefront when you hit them in the pocket. Like with all these issues P. Diddy been having, had that video not came out, we probably wouldn't be hearing about that today. This is something happened 8 years ago. So we're now hearing about it with all these other celebrities or whomever.
Mhm.
Money has kept the victims' mouth closed, or society, should I say, because they didn't feel comfortable in speaking their truth. So it is sad, but it depends on in today's society as to who it is. Because if it's just one of us, again, we would have been arrested. But if you got money, that give you time and that gives you in their mind the right to do and justify what they did.
That's right.
Thank you.
You're right, TJ is stating.
This is Deanna. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? If not, we'll move on to Terica.
TJ said the money does give you the time. This is Terica. So
So Janet Jackson. Remember someone targeted Janet Jackson and another individual? What happened with
Justin Timberlake at the football Super Bowl. Oh my God, she got so much shit for it. She got so much shit, and there's so much power that happened. And with the music industry, that man in every industry. He's in every industry. He's got lawyers, he's got businessmen, he's got singers, he's got the whole package. And yet he got away with it. And Janet took all of the shit for it when it was his behavior, when it was his action tearing off her patch. And there were so many scenes. There's so many things of white men who are getting caught, yet nothing is being said about them. Again, the pattern. And it's just upsetting to see that. But, you know, everyone's in the people's black, everyone is in black people's business, but they're never in the white man's business. So, anyways, they need to go in jail.
Yes, and so with this pandemic, it's more of a pandemic of silence and being able to
Mhm.
get away and sweeping things under the rug and being able to get away with whatever they want because they can get their way and do whatever they want to without fear of consequences is already established in our system. It's inherent into our system's society's norms. But I remember there's one woman, someone from Nickelodeon, I believe it was, you know,
Mhm.
Nickelodeon channel on TV. There was a woman, a white woman, I believe, and she was heavily into drugs.
Amanda
Oh,
Bynes. It's Amanda
what's the name?
Bynes.
Tell me again.
Amanda Bynes. TJ
Yes,
City.
yes, Amanda Bynes, right. So, and now that I'm thinking about her, it's like, why, what happened? Why did she come off the scene? We don't see her on TV. And then when we see her face now, you can tell that she's been heavily impacted by her drug use. And that individual, there was a white guy with power. He was a bigger guy who had been causing a lot of sexual harm to child actors. And it's like everybody needs to watch out for these white men, you know? So whenever people go on set, they had to basically watch out for them. So I'm sorry again. I believe it was Drake, who I actually experienced a lot of sexual harm on set. And as being affiliated with Nickelodeon as well. So again, we need to do better. People have to do better. You know, looking at nail salon salonists, hairdressers, everyone around who saw these things happen but didn't say anything. So if you see something, say
Yep.
something. But again, you have to be careful around these men.
Exactly. This is TJ.
TJ, we have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll keep it short and sweet. I just want to mention about Amanda Bynes. It's really sad just to see how her life has been destroyed because of Nickelodeon. You know, thinking about two kids and one who's older, it's white older, I adopted with my wife. It was before I met my wife. I had to teach my child how to have fun because my youngest is a black child. They grew up differently. So I had to teach my older white child about white privilege, and I had to teach my young black child about protecting themselves. So I needed to teach my white daughter and my white child, my black daughter, the differences and privileges between the two, that these jokes that may come up are not appropriate anymore. So it's so easy to teach white children how to advocate and support a black child, but you don't see that often. You know, like, oh, I can't teach my child about racism. They're just too young. Then why the exposure that they get easily from other experiences, other media? The best thing is to support your white child to teach them this is not easy. Sometimes what you're going to see some ableism, racism, all of these isms. You have to look out for that. So as a parent, you can't constantly think about trying to make an income when you're trying to raise two children. So you have to think about the consequences, how anything could destroy a child's upbringing. And you kind of see that what's happening right now. You know, when you think about you're so focused on work, you're like, I think my life is just fine, but you're not really thinking about the whole picture.
And this is Deanna. I hate to end the show. I know we could have 2 hours of conversation, but maybe we need to do a part two on this topic. But I
Mhm.
just want to thank all of you for joining and for watching this discussion. And if you want to comment after the show stops, please feel free to comment. And to our captioners and interpreters, thank you so much for your work. Good night. We'll see you all for our next live stream. Have a good night. Bye, everyone.
Bye.